Lu Shu, our protagonist, grew up in an orphanage, relying on carrots for sustenance and sparring verbally with his sister, Lu Xiaoyu, to get through the days. On New Year's Day, his life took an unexpected turn. Struck by the infamous truck Kuan, he was saved by a mysterious power that emerged from his walnut necklace. But before we get to that pivotal moment, let's return to how the day began. On a clear night, under a sky where only fireflies dare to roam, the alleyway lay silent and still. A woman walked home alone from work, her steps slow and steady. In the quiet, the faint sound of footsteps echoed behind her, pit-a-pat. As the sound drew closer, she felt an unusual warmth, as if standing near a campfire. Unease gripped her, and she turned around with a frightened expression. Her worst fears were confirmed. She had the misfortune of encountering a fire demon. The silence of the alleyway was shattered by her final, chilling scream. The next morning, a man's voice echoed from the radio, reporting on the previous night's events. Recently, our city has experienced a surge in supernatural incidents. Just last night, a young woman was attacked on her way home after leaving work. Surveillance footage reveals that the assailant appeared to be engulfed in flames. We transitioned to a small, adorable girl carrying a pot of medicine, quietly minding her own business. Suddenly, a sharp yell pierces the air. Lu Xiaoyu. Out of nowhere, a hand grabs her by the shirt. It's none other than our protagonist, Lu Shu, who's caught his mischievous sister trying to sneak a sip of the medicine meant for Annie Lim. Despite her protests, claiming she just wants a taste, Lu Shu stays firm. You have to deliver it, no excuses, he says sternly. Xiaoyu slumps in exaggerated defeat, her hunger evident in every movement. To pacify her, he reminds her about the leftover carrots they still have. They're super nutritious, practically the next ginseng. The best food ever, he proclaims enthusiastically. Xiaoyu glances at him, unimpressed and pitiful. Yeah, right, she mutters before shooting back. You eat so many carrots, you're starting to look like one. Amused, Lu Shu raises an eyebrow. Fine, what would you want instead? I want a cup of noodles, she declares, her eyes lighting up with hope. We can't afford them on regular days. But it's New Year's. We should have something special, right? But Lu Shu, ever the tease, dashes her dreams without hesitation. You can have it in your dreams, he says with a smirk, leaving poor Xiaoyu to sulk in defeat. Xiaoyu quickly retorts, Lu Shu, fine, I can live without the noodles, but you have to let me crack open that walnut necklace. Lu Shu groans, gripping his head in frustration. This necklace has been with me since the day I was taken into the orphanage, he declares firmly. There's no way I'm opening it. Unwilling to back down, Xiaoyu's frustration boils over. She starts throwing a full-blown tantrum, and in a fit of determination, lunges to bite Lu Shu's hand. As her teeth sink in, Lu Shu's patience snaps. His eyes turn dark, and his voice drops with an ominous calm. Seriously? Open your mouth now, and I'll go get you the noodles you want so badly. Reluctantly, Xiaoyu releases his hand, leaving behind a sticky mix of germs and spit. She beams with satisfaction, a triumphant smile plastered across her face. She got what she wanted after all. Our poor protagonist really should have just given in from the start and saved himself the trouble. As she wipes her mouth, Xiaoyu cheerfully adds, I want braised beef flavor noodles. Her joy radiates like a beam of light, while Lu Shu stands there, utterly defeated. Later that night, snow began to fall, and the only sound was the gentle patter of snowflakes against the window. The warm, savory aroma of freshly cooked meatballs filled the room, their steam rising like a comforting blanket. At the table, an older woman smiled as she handed a plate to Xiaoyu. I made these for you and Lu Shu, she said warmly. Xiaoyu stared at the plate, weighing her options. Sharing wasn't her strong suit, but she hesitated. Lu Shu is out in the dark, she thought. With a reluctant sigh, she picked up a meatball. All right, he can have this one, she muttered to herself. As she imagined her brother outside in the cold, another thought struck her. It's freezing. He needs something warm. She added another meatball to his portion. She paused, her fork hovering over the plate. He's weak. He never gets enough to eat, she reasoned, her resolve growing. With a determined nod, she gave him one more. Now Lu Shu's plate had 3 more meatballs than hers. Xiaoyu leaned back and smiled proudly. I'm such a good sister. Suddenly, her stomach growled loudly. Rumble. An awkward silence filled the room. Xiaoyu glanced at the window, trying to distract herself from her hunger. Snowflakes danced in the night, and she found herself wondering, will Lu Shu be back soon? Those meatballs won't taste as good if they're cold. The night sky burst into life as vibrant fireworks painted streaks of color across the darkness. Lu Shu stood with his phone in hand, capturing the beauty of the moment. He smiled faintly as he sent the best photo to his sister, Xiaoyu. Next year, he thought, I'll buy her a gift. Maybe even fireworks, so she can see them for herself. Lost in thought, and scrolling through his phone, Lu Shu didn't notice the bright headlights creeping up behind him. Suddenly, a glaring light engulfed him. He squinted, raising his hand instinctively. Oh no! Bang! The deafening impact echoed through the quiet streets. Blood splattered across the pavement as Lu Shu was flung into the air, everything slowing down in his mind. I haven't fulfilled my promise to Xiaoyu, and now I'm going to die. A burst of light erupted from the pendant around his neck, enveloping his body. The brilliance was so intense it rivaled the fireworks still crackling in the sky, masking the noise of the crash entirely. Meanwhile, Xiaoyu's phone buzzed incessantly. Ding! She read the message. Fireworks? Have you even bought my noodles? Remember, I want braised beef flavor. Ding! She texted back. Ding! 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 Are you ignoring my messages? You'll be alone for the rest of your life. Why aren't you replying? Did something happen? Say something, Lu Shu. Don't disappear like those people on the news. The messages kept coming as her concern grew. But on the street, Lu Shu's body lay motionless. The truck screeched to a halt, and the driver stumbled out, his face pale with terror. Oh no! No, no, no! He can't be dead. Not on New Year's. A soft groan came from behind him. The driver froze, turning slowly. From the wreckage, a bloody hand slammed onto the ground. You! Lu Shu rose, his tattered clothes soaked in blood, his eyes blazing with an otherworldly fury. The driver stumbled back, his face ghostly white. You're in big trouble, Lu Shu growled, his voice filled with raw, unyielding anger. After Lu Shu emerged from the car crash, battered and bloody, the truck driver's face turned ghostly pale, beads of sweat streaming down his temples. Ghost! He screamed, his voice trembling with terror. Overwhelmed by fear, he bolted as if he'd just seen an apparition. Lu Shu, on the other hand, staggered forward, his bloody arm reaching out to stop the fleeing man. Wait! You hit me with your truck. You owe me compensation, he called out, his raspy voice cutting through the chaos. But then his eyes caught his reflection in the truck's side mirror. The crimson streaks on his face and the growing pool of blood at his feet made him freeze in his tracks. His mind raced. Why didn't I die? Why don't I feel any pain? Shaking off the questions swirling in his head, he began trudging home, each step leaving a bloody trail on the pavement. When Xiaoyu heard faint footsteps approaching the door, she ran toward it with bright anticipation. Lu Shu! Annie Lin gave us some meatballs to eat, she called out, her cheerful smile lighting up her face. But as she opened the door and saw her brother, her expression changed instantly. Her face turned pale, and her eyes widened in sheer horror. What happened to you? She asked, her voice trembling with concern. Lu Shu turned away slowly, trying to hide his tattered appearance from her. I rammed into a car. The other person's fine, but the vehicle isn't, he muttered, his voice low. Xiaoyu's gaze dropped, sensing her brother wasn't in the mood to explain further. But she wasn't ready to let it go. So, is this blood from the car? Was the car big? Can we afford to pay them back? She fired off questions one after another, barely giving Lu Shu a moment to process. He explained that he had already used the money he'd saved to take Xiaoyu to the festival. But before he could finish, Xiaoyu cut him off with a huff. I'm not a kid, she snapped, her tone laced with attitude. Lu Shu chuckled, brushing it off. Relax, I'm joking. There were other people in the car crash, and I was just helping them out, he said with a grin. Xiaoyu raised an eyebrow, her tone dripping with sarcasm. You? Helping people? Before she could dwell on it, Lu Shu quickly waved her off. I'm going to shower. I stink, he said, disappearing toward the bathroom without giving her a chance to respond. As Lu Shu stood in the shower, he washed away the blood and grime from the car crash, the warm water cascading over him. Afterward, he glanced into the mirror, examining himself for any injuries. To his astonishment, his body showed no visible bruises or marks. There's not much of a difference, he muttered in amazement. As he lowered his gaze to further inspect his body, a faint glow from the palm of his left hand caught his attention. Narrowing his eyes, he focused on the light, trying to make sense of it. Suddenly, a large blue screen materialized in front of him, hovering in midair. I knew it wouldn't be that simple, he murmured, his tone tinged with a mix of curiosity and resignation. The screen displayed various categories: lottery center, shop, savings, and record, alongside a point system labeled negative emotion points. 697. Lu Shu stared at the display, analyzing its contents carefully, his mind racing with questions about what this screen, and the glowing light in his palm, could mean. As Lu Shu stared at the glowing screen, a thought crossed his mind. Don't tell me, is this like the stories on the news? Have I awakened a superpower? Tentatively, he reached out his hand and touched the screen, selecting the shop icon. Instantly, a list of items appeared. One item caught his attention: starfruit, priced at 1,000 negative emotion points. Glancing at his balance, which now read 701 negative emotion points, he paused. A grin slowly spread across his face. God is kind, he exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement. He gave me a superpower that generates money automatically. Overcome with amazement, Lu Shu dropped to his knees, his hands clasped together as if in worship. I must have the luckiest power ever, he thought, his mind swirling with visions of how this newfound ability could change his life. Lu Shu muttered to himself, I'd better use this chance to earn enough for my sister's school fees, groceries, and maybe even enough to take care of her for the rest of her life. Determined, he clicked on another subsection of the system. Let's check the income log, he said. A series of notifications appeared. Income from Zhang Jin's negative emotion points. Plus 497. Plus 10, plus 5, plus 10, plus 5. What is this? Negative emotion points? He asked aloud, confusion etched on his face. Where's the RMB? Where's the actual money? As realization dawned, his face fell, shifting to one of horror and disappointment. I haven't made any real money after all, he whispered, the earlier excitement draining from his voice. Lu Shu thought to himself, if the negative emotion points are connected to people, then Zhang Jin must be the truck driver, and maybe the guy at the convenience store is the other one. His mind drifted back to earlier, when he was at the grocery store buying medicine. The clerk had been visibly terrified by the sight of his bloodied state. He'd hurriedly paid, reminded his sister to cook noodles for both of them, and left, wondering if his strange ability could also pull negative emotion points from her. Testing his theory, he called out toward the kitchen, Xiaoyu, cook the noodles yourself. And make some for me too. A moment later, his sister yelled back, her voice sharp with frustration. Lu Shu, you've changed. Suddenly, a series of ding sounds echoed from his system screen. Income from Zhang Donglai's negative emotion points. Plus 166. Income from Zhang Donglai's negative emotion points. Plus 166. Income from Zhang Donglai's negative emotion points. Plus 166. Looking down in amazement, Lu Shu thought, it's this easy to get negative emotion points? Excitement bubbling, he began brainstorming ways to generate more points. Terrorizing, taunting, all of it could work. But can these points be withdrawn? Without hesitation, he yelled, withdraw, hoping his 867 points would turn into something tangible. Nothing happened. Growing frustrated, he shouted again, give me money, money. Still, the screen remained unresponsive. His face fell as he realized that earning points might be easy, but turning them into real money was another challenge entirely. An idea struck Lu Shu. Maybe the negative emotion points can only be used within the system, he thought. His eyes darted to the lottery option on the screen. There's a lottery system, he muttered. If it's my own system, it should be giving me good stuff, right? Without hesitation, he clicked on the lottery. Come on, let me see some treasures, he said, brimming with anticipation. The wheel spun, the system chimed, and a message popped up. Thank you for your patronage. Lu Shu froze. Damn it, what do you mean, thank you for your patronage? My own lottery system can't be this bad. Refusing to give up, he tried again, and again, and again. Each time, the result was the same. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. By the fifth try, his patience was wearing thin. Is my luck really this bad? he muttered in disbelief. Determined, he tried one final time, this time muttering aloud, "I refuse to believe my luck is this terrible." Frustrated, he smacked the screen instead of spinning the wheel. To his surprise, a new message appeared. "Congratulations! Starfruit has been added to your inventory. The item can be withdrawn at any time." His eyes widened. "Withdraw," he said quickly. A small, red fruit, no larger than a pinball, materialized above his hand, floating gently. He stared at it, skeptical. This shouldn't kill me, should it? Cautiously, he pulled the fruit closer to his mouth and took a bite. Almost instantly, a strange sensation filled his body. His eyes widened in shock as his skin flushed, and an intense heat coursed through him. Sweat poured from his body, evaporating almost as quickly as it formed. "So hot," he managed to think, his mind racing as the overwhelming sensation consumed him.